The winds howled through the dense forest, rustling the leaves of towering trees that stretched toward the skies like silent sentinels. Hidden in the depths of this wild expanse, Elizabeth and Evan trudged through the underbrush, their faces set with determination. They had ventured into this alien wilderness to explore a newly discovered region, one known for its perilous wildlife and strange, ancient ruins. But nothing in their training had prepared them for what they would find today. Elizabeth, her vibrant red hair pulled back into a loose ponytail, wiped the sweat from her brow as she pushed through a thick patch of vines. Evan, tall and muscular with a calm demeanor, always kept a careful eye on their surroundings. His hand rested on the hilt of his sidearm, a weapon that had seen more than its fair share of alien skirmishes. But today, they weren't anticipating a fight. They had no idea that what lay ahead would turn their expectations upside down. As they reached a small clearing, Elizabeth froze. Evan, sensing her stillness, stopped beside her, his eyes scanning the area. What they saw made them both take a collective breath. A baby dragon no larger than a large dog sat at the edge of the clearing, its scales shimmering in the dappled sunlight. Its eyes, large and impossibly bright, met theirs with an almost pleading expression. The creature's tiny mouth opened slightly, revealing a row of sharp teeth that glinted in the light. It looked hungry, desperately so. But what truly caught their attention was the way the dragon gazed at them, almost as if asking a silent question, "Can I eat with you?" Elizabeth's heart softened at the sight. The baby dragon, despite its fearsome appearance, had the unmistakable aura of vulnerability. It wasn't an apex predator. It wasn't a threat. It was a starving young creature in need of help. She glanced at Evan, whose jaw clenched for a moment before he relaxed, his eyes shifting from wariness to compassion. Evan took a slow step forward, his hand extended in a universal gesture of peace. "You're hungry, huh?" he murmured, his voice low and gentle. The dragon cocked its head, studying him carefully before lowering its body to the ground, a sign of submission. The action made Elizabeth's heart ache. She stepped forward kneeling down, her expression softening as she reached into the bag strapped to her side. It contained their rations: dried meat, fruits, and a few basic survival foods. She pulled out a small chunk of dried meat and held it out toward the dragon. For a moment, the creature didn't move. Then, its nostrils flared, and it cautiously edged closer. With a delicate, almost shy motion, it took the meat from her hand, its tiny claws brushing against her skin. Elizabeth's breath caught in her throat. The dragon looked up at her, its eyes wide, and for a fleeting moment, she saw something, familiar look that mirrored the quiet desperation of a lost child. Evan watched the scene unfold with a soft smile. There was something undeniably human in the way the dragon acted, so much like the children they had both raised in the past. The bond between humans and the creatures of the galaxy ran deep, sometimes in ways they couldn't explain. Elizabeth slowly sat back, her hand resting on her knee as she watched the dragon devour the meat. The little creature, now visibly calmer, made soft purring noises. Its head tilted slightly as it looked up at her, as if to say thank you in its own way. "I think it likes you," Evan said, a teasing glint in his eyes. He crouched beside her, his hand brushing the dirt from his pants. "Should we invite it to dinner?" Elizabeth smiled warmly, her heart lighter than it had been in days. She reached into her pack again, pulling out another piece of meat and offering it to the baby dragon. This time, the creature didn't hesitate. It came closer, curling up beside her, content in its little corner of the world. "It's almost like it knows we won't hurt it," Elizabeth murmured, her fingers gently brushing through the dragon's soft scales. Maybe it's never been treated like this before." Evan nodded thoughtfully. "I don't think so. The way it's acting like a lost little thing looking for help." He trailed off, a hint of emotion in his voice. "We're not so different from it, you know." Elizabeth met his gaze, her eyes soft. "No, we're not." For the next hour they sat in silence, sharing their meal with the baby dragon. In return, the creature offered them a level of trust neither of them expected. It nuzzled against Elizabeth's leg, seeking comfort in her presence, its eyes half closed in contentment. There was a moment, just then, when Elizabeth realized that the galaxy was full of wonders, and sometimes, those wonders weren't the towering beasts or technological marvels they'd been trained to fight. Sometimes, they were the small, fragile things that needed compassion, not weapons. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the baby dragon finally licked its lips, the last of the food consumed. It looked up at Elizabeth and Evan, its eyes full of gratitude. Then, as if satisfied, it slowly stretched out on the ground and closed its eyes, its chest rising and falling in soft breaths. The two humans, seated beside it, remained vigilant but at peace. knowing that sometimes the most powerful thing a person could do was simply offer kindness. Maybe we should take it with us, Elizabeth said quietly, a spark of mischief in her tone. It's not like we're not used to strange companions by now. Evan chuckled, shaking his head. You're really going to make me the one to argue with a baby dragon? No, she replied, her eyes gleaming with a quiet joy. But I think I've found something worth fighting for. And in that moment, as the baby dragon slept soundly between them, Evan realized that Elizabeth was right. The universe was vast and full of peril, but it was also full of opportunities to show humanity's true strength, and in how hard they could fight, but in how deeply they could care.